Welcome, jesters. I know I said there are no conspiracy theories, but when considering our friends on the left, sometimes you just have to wonder, is it an actual conspiracy theory, or did they just stumble onto something that they've wanted all along? I don't know. Did you see the recent video? I think it was from Publix, somewhere here in Florida. A gentleman went in and tried to order a sandwich, but was having trouble communicating his order to the sandwich makers because they were not proficient in U.S. English. And the bulk of the discussion around this topic was that if you're going to be in a a customer-facing job like this, you really should be proficient in U.S. English, which is correct. English, or American really, is the de facto language here in the United States. So yeah, it is necessary for these customer-facing roles. But I thought about it, and I kind of realized that this seems an awful lot like a plan by the Democrats to continue their long and rich history of, well, basically racism and segregation, right? This time in the labor pool. So what do I mean by this? They are 100% hellbent on bringing in as many Spanish-speaking low-end laborers as possible, all right? And we can just set aside whether or not they're legal or illegal, right? The Democrats seem to be very fixated on bringing in as many Spanish-speaking low-end laborers as possible. They claim that these are jobs that they claim that they're to do jobs that Americans, don't want to do, that we desperately need the workforce to expand the economy and all this kind of stuff. Well, okay, fine. Let's just give them that. But it's weird that they seem fixated on bringing in only people who speak Spanish and then having zero expectation of them assimilating, meaning learn English, which means that the labor force that they are importing now, that they are actively importing now, that they are actively defending, are basically self-segregated away from Black Americans. Yes, exactly. This is just another form of Democrat segregationist policy, right? So I tried to maybe come up with some numbers around this, and it's kind of difficult, but between two chatbots, right? I'm not going to say who because it doesn't matter. They came up with similar numbers, so here we go, right? This is all census and survey data. 14% of non-Hispanic Spanish speakers are Black. Okay, now this might include certain diaspora, but it's hard to tell. Then there are an estimated 2 to 3 million non-Hispanic Spanish speakers in the country. Okay, so if 14% of those are Black, that means 2 to 3 million. Of the 2 to 3 million, 350,000, give or take, of these non-Hispanic Spanish speakers are Black, right? Now compare that to the roughly 40 million Black population of the country, and that yields somewhere between 1 and 3% of Black Americans can communicate effectively in Spanish, which means, right, this labor pool that the Democrats are so intent on bringing into the country is completely inaccessible to Black America. Now, was this intentional? Like I said, with our friends on the left, you never really know, right? This is something that the fourth class of Democrat, right? The planners, the ones that aren't really ideological, could come up with. Or they might have just lucked out and ended up with, a class of labor that self-segregates, self-segregates themselves linguistically. And, like I said, the Democrats do have a long and rich history of racism and segregation. So it fits perfectly with their pattern. And if this was planned, honestly, it's kind of brilliant. It really was kind of brilliant for them to set this up, right? They really want to keep people separate, so they decided to bring in a population of essential laborers that will keep themselves separate, right? With literally no pressure to assimilate, right? Thus making this, this deep, absolutely necessary to grow the economy labor pool inaccessible to Black Americans. And, I think that's pretty tragic, right? Right? I mean, if you're going to come here and work in the country, right, everybody should be able to hire you. Everybody should feel comfortable hiring you. Everybody should be able to communicate with any potential employee that we want, right? If anybody wants to start a small business, and we all know, right, the actually very long and rich history of Black-owned small businesses, they should be able to access, any labor that comes into the country. Yet the Democrats seem to set up a scenario where that's not And yeah, I mean, given their history, given the Democrats' history of segregation, I actually think this was planned. Ooh. And you know I'm right.